Hello. I want to warn some of my viewers about a scam I just learned about. Now, I'm a big talk radio fan and I like to Coast to Coast every night and also to Paul Harvey and many others. And I keep hearing this heater that's been advertised on these shows called the Eden Pure heater. And the manufacturers claim you're going to save 50% on your electric bill. Well, I don't know about you, but I love the idea of saving on my electric bill because this time of year that can get pretty high. Anyway, this Eden Pure is a rather expensive heater. They're going for about 400 bucks a piece. And I was tempted to spend the money, but I didn't have to. Turned out my neighbor bought one, and so he let me run a few tests on it. Well, I compared it to my small little cube heater here, which I think you can pick up for about $20. And I ran a pretty scientific test. I hooked a watt meter to it, brought a thermometer in the room, watched how long it took to raise the temperature to a certain level, watched its power consumption, and when I was done with my test, turned out the little cube heater did just as good as Eden Pure. So the $20 versus the 400, well, you pick. The Eden Pure was kind of an interesting heater. It was a nice heater, although I understand they break down a lot. But it stayed cool on the outside of the case, which might be good if you have kids. But I don't know if the things are breaking down a lot. Can't you do better by buying something cheaper? As far as I know, these heaters are somewhat limited as far as how much heat they can put out. You put so many watts in, you're only going to get so many British thermal units of heat out of them. So anyway, for what it's worth, that was my experience. How they can get away with advertising on a nationwide basis for so many years, I don't know, but it goes to show you, you just really can't trust anybody, can you? Along the line of things that people fall for, I thought I'd mention a few others. I remember a couple friends of mine started selling ozone machines with the idea that they were going to clean up the air in the house, and they had a lot of people claiming that their allergies would go away if they were breathing in this ozone treated air. I don't know how much of that was true and how much isn't, but here's an ozone machine here. Picked this one up at a garage sale, so I didn't have to pay the full price. Now, this particular one is made by a company called Living Air. I don't know if that's related to Alpine Air, but I did my homework on these things to find out just how effective they are at cleaning the air, and I found out that there's no, at least I couldn't find any scientific review proving that they actually clean the air. And what I did find is there's a class action lawsuit brought against one of these companies because people were complaining about lung problems from breathing in all this ozone. So that can be quite deadly. In fact, an experience I had, this one lady friend of mine that sells these things, she brought me a VCR that I repaired for her. I changed the rubber belts in it, and she brought it in about a year later, and I opened it up and the belts looked like they were about 4 years old. Well, turned out she had the ozone machine close to the VCR, and I guess the ozone just ate up the rubber real quick. Ozone's known to do that. Anyway, there's so many scams out there. I thought I'd talk about a few others. There's a device a lot of people refer to as the zapper or the bioelectrifier. It's supposedly going to cure you of certain illnesses. Cancer is one that there's a little box that looks like this, and it's got a couple electrodes that you're supposed to hold on to. You turn the switch on the side here, and as you're holding these electrodes, this electricity is supposed to go into your body and attack these parasites and cure you of all kinds of stuff. Well, again, as far as I'm concerned, it's a gimmick. It doesn't make sense to me. Number one, the thing only puts out 9 volts. It's a square wave. It's at a lot of them are fixed frequencies, some are at variable frequencies. But if you know anything about electronics, one thing you'll understand about resistance is your body has a lot of resistance in it. And for a 9-volt battery to pass from one hand to the other, go through your whole system and clean up all these so-called parasites, isn't likely that it's going to be very effective. The whole idea is that it's going to reproduce a resonant frequency of the parasites, and that's going to kill them. But anyway, I think it's just another scam like many of the scams out there. I've watched my friends fall for this stuff. In fact, to tell you a couple funny ones, there was a guy that came in my shop not too long ago, and we were talking about magnets. I love magnets. I have a huge collection of them, probably 50 pounds of them. Anyway, this guy sells therapy magnets. He claims can heal you and whatnot, give you more strength. And so he says, I'd like to show you what you can do with this magnet here. Put out your hand and let me try to push it down with mine. So I hold out my hand like this, and he takes his hand, pushes it down, and kind of judges how strong I am. And he says, all right, take one of these magnets here and put it by your feet. Puts the magnet by my feet. He says, do it again. I put my hand out again. He pushes it down. He says, you see how much stronger you were? And I said, no, actually I don't. What I saw was that he was wanting to believe I was stronger, and so somehow he was convincing himself that this thing actually worked. Now, look, there may be something to magnets, I don't know, but I just didn't buy this quick hand test as though that was proof of anything. In fact, I'll tell you another funny story. I had another friend who used to sell these magnetic beds. Now, these magnetic beds were going for about 1,700 bucks a piece, and he told me that since he'd been using this magnetic bed, he didn't need much sleep. And he sold one to a woman who claimed that thanks to the magnetic bed, she is now able to walk. Well, I'm being the curious type. I wanted to see how many magnets were in this mattress that he had. It wasn't actually really a bed. It was just a thin foam mattress you'd lay on top of your bed. And so I took my compass out and I started moving it around this thing, and I just found a few magnets here and there that were embedded inside the foam. And I said, this just has a few magnets in it, and they aren't even that strong. And he says, yeah, but see, the scientists had to figure exactly where to put the magnets to make it effective. And anyway, he was so sure this thing would work, so he brought it over to my place and he let me sit on it. He let me and another guy try it, and he says to me, I noticed you're smiling a lot since you've been laying on it. And I said, no, I don't buy it, I'm sorry. And the funny thing is, my friend, he laid down on it for just a few minutes. He says, oh yeah, I feel it, And I thought, wow, what a sucker. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I think that a lot of us are just so suggestible. In fact, there have been so many devices I've seen over the years along that line. Do any of you guys remember the laundry ball? That was a little tennis ball size ball that you'd fill with water. I'm sorry, you didn't fill it with water. It had a special water in it. They called it engineered water, and they claimed that if you put it in your laundry machine, that it was going to wash your clothes for you without having to add any laundry detergent. Well, it sounded pretty crazy to me, but I don't know about all this nuclear science and stuff, so I figured maybe there's something to it. And later it came out that the whole thing was a big scam. I know a couple of people that were selling those balls, and me, I would have done more testing on it before I bought into it like that. But there's been other things like that. In fact, my same friend that was selling the magnetic beds, he was selling also, well, I don't know if he was selling, he had a pyramid that he would try sleeping under. And I said, oh, come on, you don't believe in that, do you? And he says, oh, he says, sleeping under that pyramid gave me so much energy I could hardly stand it. So anyway, another warning to you guys, LCD TVs. If you buy one, make sure you get a good warranty on it. I repair them now and then, and I have to tell you, they're breaking down after only a couple of years in many cases. In fact, I had somebody bring me one just recently. It was only about 6 months old, and the part was going to, between my labor and the part, it was going to cost them about 500 bucks for the repair. They just paid 800 for it less than a year ago, and they said, never mind, you keep it. So if you do buy one of these LCD TVs, make sure you get a good warranty. Pay extra if you have to get an extended warranty. I think it would be worth it. And don't expect a great life out of it. Although I have to admit, my computer monitor is, I think it's about 4 years old, and it's LCD, so maybe there are exceptions to the rule. Anyway, just thought I'd talk about a few scams I've run into there. Oh, one last one before I forget. This is another one I was disappointed about. Inverters. I was going to buy a whole bunch of these for resale because this one is actually a sine wave inverter, and they were only about 109 bucks advertised by this company I get magazines from. Before I made a big purchase, I decided to buy just a couple to see how well they stood up. Well, I have to tell you, when I plugged this thing in, it was so hot, operating at 300 watts, there was just no way I was going to leave it on a continuous basis, and that's what it was rated for. Turned out that I decided to let it run at around, what was it, 150, 200 watts, and I wanted it to run for a month to see how well it would hold out, and it died after about a month. Maybe a month's use is worth it to some people, I don't know, but to me, I thought it was a big scam. Anyway, my time's running out. Thanks for listening. Bye.